All right, so we're diving deep today
She.
into IEX's second quarter financials, fiscal year 2025.
Okay.
You wanted to know how they're doing?
Nah.
We've got all the details. We're talking about the Indian Energy Exchange, the major, really, player in India's power market. Kind of like, think of it like the stock market. But instead of companies, they're trading electricity,
Yeah.
renewable energy, even those certificates, that prove your power is green.
Yeah, that's right. And to really break this down, we've got their investor presentation, the press release they just put out,
Yeah.
and then their detailed financial statements.
So what's the big takeaway here? What should our listener kind of walk away understanding about IEX's performance?
IEX is showing some pretty impressive growth, even though India's electricity demand has slowed down a bit, and they're making some really interesting moves into new markets like carbon trading and even hydrogen. It's clear they're thinking ahead.
IEX's revenue jumped by a pretty significant 26.2% compared to last year, hitting 167.8 crore. And their profit after tax is up a similar 25.2%, reaching 108.3 crore. Pretty solid, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I think is really interesting is that 80% of their revenue comes from transaction fees.
Okay.
So their core business of making energy trades happen, that's working really well.
And the amount of energy that they're actually trading also just skyrocketed, up 38.2% compared to last year. We're talking 36.7 billion units of energy changing hands on their platform.
So you might be wondering, how are they getting this kind of growth? When electricity demand was pretty flat in Q2, well, it seems like they're getting a bigger share of the market and bringing in new players to the energy trading game.
Makes sense. So what's driving this growth spurt?
Well, a few things are working in their favor. First, India had a good run with its fuel supply, plenty of coal available at decent prices. Power plants had healthy reserves. That stable supply kept the energy flowing.
And what about those renewable energy certificates we were talking about? I have to admit, I'm still not totally clear on what those are or why they're so important.
Think of them like a digital stamp of approval. For renewable energy, they provide proof, that the power you're using came from a renewable source. This is becoming so important for companies doing business globally and trying to meet, their sustainability goals. And here's where IEX comes in, their subsidiary. The International Carbon Exchange, ICX for short, they just became India's first officially accredited issuer of these certificates called IRECs.
So they're not just trading electricity, they're becoming like a key player in the global market for approving renewable energy use. That's pretty big.
It is, and they're not stopping there. They're exploring launching ICX in Gift City, a special economic zone in India, which would open up international carbon trading using US dollars and Indian rupees.
So this could be a game changer for India's carbon market,
Potentially.
attracting global players and investments. Okay, so they're making big moves in electricity and renewables. But what about other forms of energy?
Well, let's talk about their subsidiary, the Indian Gas Exchange, or IGX. They traded a significant amount of natural gas this quarter, 118 lakh MMBtu to be precise. Now, their profit in this segment did dip a little compared to last year.
A slight dip in profit. That doesn't sound too great.
It's not necessarily a cause for concern. They're focusing on innovation and expansion with some pretty ambitious plans. They're looking at longer-term gas contracts, trading compressed biogas and its certificates, and even exploring cross-border gas trading, potentially with Bangladesh.
Cross-border trading, that sounds complex.
It is.
What's the advantage there?
It allows countries to tap into each other's gas resources, improving energy security, and potentially lowering costs. It's a win-win for both countries involved.
Interesting. And they're even looking at hydrogen trading. That seems incredibly futuristic.
It does, doesn't it? But remember, natural gas is often seen as a bridge fuel on the path to a cleaner energy future. And hydrogen is a potential game changer for decarbonizing industries that are hard to electrify.
Right.
So IEX is positioning itself to be a key player in these evolving energy markets.
So they're covering a lot of bases.
Yeah.
But what's driving this incredible growth? What are the forces shaping IEX's future?
One major factor is India's continued economic growth, which naturally leads to higher electricity demand. Now, the pace of growth might be a bit slower than expected, but the sheer size of India's economy means that demand is still going up.
And it's not just overall growth that matters. Think about the specific sectors that are booming in India, core industrial sectors, the expansion of electric vehicles and railways, and the explosion of data centers. All of these are energy intensive. and will drive up electricity demand.
Absolutely. And over the past decade, IEX's trading volume has consistently been about 2.5 times higher than overall power demand growth.
Hmm.
So as India's energy needs grow, IEX is well positioned to benefit.
But it's not just organic demand driving their success, right?
Right.
There are also some interesting changes happening in regulations
Yeah,
and new products coming online.
you got it. One big change is the introduction of TAM up to 11 months, which basically means traders can buy and sell electricity on IEX for contracts lasting up to 11 months.
Okay.
Previously, these longer-term trades were done through private bilateral contracts, but this new rule could shift a lot of that volume onto IEX's platform.
So more transparency and potentially better prices for everyone involved.
It could, yeah.
That sounds like a positive development.
Yeah, and there's another regulatory change that's shaking things up. New rules called long-term power sale contract, or LPSC rules, require power generators to offer their excess power on exchanges, like IEX. This increases the amount of electricity available for trading and makes prices more transparent.
More competition, more transparency. Sounds like good news for buyers.
It has the potential to be, yeah. And keep an eye out for the green real-time market, or green RTM. It's a proposed market just for trading renewable energy. This will cater to the growing demand for green power from companies and institutions committed to sustainability.
That's a great initiative. But what about those renewable energy certificates, the IRDCs we talked about before? Are there any changes happening in that market?
There are some big changes coming that will make the IREC market more active and impactful. First, they're making solar and non-solar IRECs interchangeable, which increases flexibility for buyers. Second, there will be stricter penalties for companies that don't meet their obligations to purchase renewable energy, making IRECs even more valuable. And finally, they're increasing the frequency of IREC trading, which will boost liquidity and make it easier for buyers and sellers to connect.
So it sounds like IEX is benefiting from a combination of factors: strong demand, favorable regulations, innovative new products, and their strategic positioning in the growing renewable energy market. They're certainly a company to watch.
They are indeed. But it's not just about IEX's success. It's about the bigger energy transition that's happening globally. Future energy demand will increasingly be met by renewable sources, and this shift will have a huge impact on energy markets everywhere.
It's interesting to compare India's energy transition to what we've seen in Europe. They've been leading the charge on renewables, and their adoption of market-based models like energy exchanges has played a key role in accelerating their progress.
India is at a similar stage now, with renewable energy making up about 20% of their energy mix.
Okay.
This is the point where market mechanisms like those offered by IEX can really take off and drive that rapid adoption of clean energy.
So IEX isn't just riding the wave of the energy transition, they're actively shaping it.
I think that's a great way to put it.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah. And there's another interesting aspect to consider: the diversity of energy generation and consumption across India. Different regions have different peak demand times and rely on different energy sources.
Give us some examples. How does this diversity actually play out?
Well, think about North India, where demand peaks during those hot summer months. Contrast that with Telangana, where a lot of electricity is used for lift irrigation, which drives peak demand between August and October. Then you have the western and southern regions, which are rich in wind energy resources. IEX can leverage this geographic diversity by balancing supply and demand across the country, making sure that electricity flows where it's needed most.
So they're not just a trading platform, they're becoming a key part of India's energy infrastructure.
Exactly. And as more power plants come online, especially renewable energy projects, there will be even more sellers on IEX, creating healthy competition and potentially leading to lower prices for buyers. It's a dynamic and evolving landscape, and IEX is at the forefront of it all.
Absolutely. And we will be diving deeper into that landscape coming out after the break. Stay with us.
So we talked a lot about these big picture trends driving IEX's growth. But let's zoom in on some of the finer details. What can we learn from their financial statements? Well, one thing that really jumps out is how much of their revenue comes from those transaction fees we mentioned earlier. In Q2 of fiscal year 2025, a full 80% of their revenue came from just facilitating energy trades on their platform.
That's up from 78% in the same quarter last year. Clearly, their core business is thriving.
Exactly. And that growth in transaction fees shows just how many people are using IEX to buy and sell energy. It really underscores their success in building a trusted and valuable marketplace.
So what about that other 20% of their revenue? Where's that coming from?
Well, a small but steady 3% comes from admission and annual fees. This tells us they're continuing to bring new members onto the platform, expanding their reach within the energy market.
So they're not just seeing more activity, they're also welcoming new players into the fold. It's like a two-pronged growth strategy.
Precisely. And then there's the other income category, which makes up the remaining 17% of their revenue. This can include things like interest income from their cash reserves, which are quite substantial, as we saw on their balance sheet.
It's like uncovering hidden gems within their financials. They're clearly a financially healthy company with diverse income streams.
Absolutely. And this financial strength allows them to invest strategically in new technologies, markets, and products, like those carbon and hydrogen trading ventures we discussed earlier. They're in a great position for continued success in this rapidly changing energy landscape.
Speaking of a changing landscape, let's circle back to the energy transition and how it's impacting IEX. It feels like they're becoming a real driving force in India's clean energy future.
You're absolutely right. IEX is facilitating this shift towards renewables by creating a transparent and efficient marketplace for clean energy. As India sets more ambitious targets for renewable energy, IEX's role will only become more critical.
So they're not just responding to the energy transition, they're actively shaping it.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it.
That's amazing.
Their platform empowers everyone involved, generators, utilities, and even consumers, to participate in this transition. Whether it's by trading renewable energy, procuring green power, or managing their carbon footprint.
It's a win-win for the planet and for IEX's bottom line. But let's be realistic. Every investment opportunity comes with risks. What are some potential challenges IEX might face in the future?
That's a really important question. While their growth story is compelling, we need to consider the full picture. One significant factor is regulatory uncertainty. The energy sector is heavily regulated, and changes in government policies could impact their business model.
For instance, any changes to the rules governing those renewable energy certificates, or the introduction of new market mechanisms for power trading, could create some headwinds or tailwinds for IEX.
Exactly. Their success hinges on their ability to adapt to evolving regulations and leverage them to their advantage.
And what about competition? While IEX is the dominant player right now, could new entrants or alternative trading platforms threaten their position?
It's a valid concern. Keeping a close eye on the competitive landscape, anticipating new entrants, and continuously innovating their platform and services will be crucial for IEX to maintain its edge.
And of course, we can't forget about the inherent volatility of energy markets. Fluctuations in fuel prices, changes in supply and demand, even unforeseen events like natural disasters can impact trading volumes and prices on the exchange.
You're right. IEX operates in a dynamic and sometimes unpredictable environment. Their ability to manage these risks, diversify their offerings, and maintain a robust risk management framework will be key to their long-term success.
So looking back at IEX's second quarter financials, how have they been navigating these challenges?
Well, their impressive 26.2% year-over-year revenue growth, reaching over 167.8 crore, demonstrates their ability to capitalize on market opportunities and grow their business despite the challenges.
And their profit after tax also tells a positive story, increasing by 25.2% year-over-year to 108.3 crores. They're not just growing their top line, they're managing costs effectively and turning that revenue growth into profit.
Right. Their trading volume also surged by a remarkable 38.2% year-over-year, totaling 36.7 billion units. This, even amidst relatively flat electricity demand, points to their growing market share and their ability to attract more participants to their platform.
It seems like they're firing on all cylinders. But to really understand their performance, we need to compare it to previous periods in industry benchmarks. Looking at these numbers in isolation only tells part of the story.
You're absolutely right. By comparing their performance to their own historical data, we can identify trends, spot any anomalies, and gain a deeper understanding of their growth trajectory.
And by comparing them to other energy exchanges, we can assess their relative strengths and weaknesses, identify areas for improvement, and evaluate their overall competitiveness.
Exactly. This type of comparative analysis is crucial for investors who are trying to make informed decisions about IEX's future prospects.
So let's roll up our sleeves and dive into that comparative analysis. We'll look at IEX's key performance indicators over several quarters, compare them to industry averages, and see what insights we can uncover. So we've dug into IEX's recent performance, even looked at some potential challenges. Now let's shift gears and look ahead a little bit. What's their long-term vision, and how are they positioning themselves for the future?
Well, what's exciting about IEX is they're not just sitting back. And watching the energy market evolve, they're really actively trying to shape it. Their strategic vision is all about growth, innovation, and sustainability.
Okay, growth seems pretty straightforward. Expand their reach, attract more participants, boost those trading volumes. But what does that actually look like?
Well, they're tackling growth on multiple fronts. We already talked about their expansion into new markets like carbon and hydrogen, but they're also innovating with new products and services, things like longer duration contracts, those real-time markets for renewables, and even derivatives to help manage risk. In this evolving energy landscape,
So it sounds like they're building an entire ecosystem around energy trading.
exactly, they're not just facilitating transactions, they're creating a comprehensive platform that caters to the diverse needs of a rapidly transforming energy sector.
Now let's talk about innovation. What kind of innovations are we talking about, and why are they so important for IEX's future?
Innovation is really baked into IEX's DNA. They're constantly looking for ways to improve their platform, enhance their services, and create new value for their participants. For example, they're investing heavily in technologies like AI and machine learning to optimize trading, manage risk more effectively, and improve the user experience for everyone on their platform.
So they're bringing some of that Silicon Valley tech mindset to the energy sector.
Yeah, they recognize that technology is key to making energy trading more efficient, transparent, and accessible. By embracing innovation, they're staying ahead of the curve and making sure their platform remains relevant and attractive to a new generation of energy traders.
Okay, and finally, let's talk about sustainability. We've already seen how IEX is playing a role in India's clean energy transition. But how does sustainability fit into their overall vision?
For IEX, sustainability isn't just a trend. It's a core value that underpins their entire business model. They understand that we need to shift to cleaner energy globally, and they are using their platform to make that happen faster.
Yeah, we've already talked about their moves into carbon trading and renewable energy certificates. Those are real concrete examples of their commitment to sustainability. They're creating market mechanisms that incentivize the adoption of renewable energy and help companies reduce their environmental impact.
Exactly, and they're going beyond just providing a platform for these transactions. IEX is actively engaging with policymakers and industry stakeholders to advocate for market-based solutions to climate change and promote a more sustainable energy future.
It's encouraging to see a company that's not just focused on profits, but is also dedicated to making a positive impact on the world.
And their focus on sustainability isn't just altruistic, it's also a smart business strategy. As demand for clean energy and carbon reduction solutions continues to grow, IEX is positioning itself as a leader in this emerging market. It's a win-win for them and for the planet.
So let's bring it back to our listener. Why should they care about IEX's performance and future?
IEX's story is about more than just numbers on a balance sheet. It's about the transformation of India's energy sector and the global shift towards a more sustainable future. Whether you're an investor, an energy professional, or just a concerned citizen, IEX's role in this transition is something to watch.
Their performance gives us a glimpse into how India's energy markets are doing. Their innovations are shaping how we buy, sell, and use energy, and their commitment to sustainability is helping to create a cleaner future.
By understanding IEX, you get these valuable insights into what's driving the future of energy and all the exciting opportunities that are out there.
As we wrap up our deep dive into IEX, we want to leave you with one final question. Could IEX, with its expansion into new markets, its embrace of innovation, and its commitment to sustainability, become a blueprint for energy exchanges all over the world? Could their model be replicated in other countries, accelerating the global energy transition and helping to create a more sustainable future for everyone? That's something we'll all be watching closely in the years to come. And that's the bottom line of this deep dive.